Let's get started. Who wants to tell me what current is? Anybody? Current, yep. Motion of charge. Somewhat. Rate of flow of charge. That's pretty much covered it. What about voltage?
Potential.
What is it? Voltage difference between 2 points is?
Energy difference required for a charge to travel.
The amount of energy required to move 1 coulomb of charge between the points is the voltage difference or potential difference between those points. And what's power? Power is what? What's power? Rate of doing work, the time rate of change of energy, delta W divided by delta T. That's really all we've got to do today, so thank you very much for your attendance. No, that is pretty much it. Most of you should have done physics at least to some level, so perhaps much of today's lecture is revision. But we have to define what is current, what is voltage, and what is power and how does it relate to voltage and current. The three things to get out of today's lecture. We'll always start and finish with this slide which says what's coming up for the week. Every lecture will have, certainly in this section, what am I trying to do? Where's my pen? This reference to the relevant sections in the book by Irwin. The lecture notes are quite brief. They're for using in a lecture. So if you need more detail, you can refer to the relevant section in this textbook or any of the many, many textbooks on introductory electrical circuits. But so those references will be there. I've posed a question on melts. So get going, start earning your marks. This is just a warm-up one. The question is, which generic skill do you consider to be most important? And the answers are something like teamwork, communication, or Game of Thrones. So I'm pretty sure I unlocked it. So is anyone in there and can see that question? Yep, all right, good. I don't want to reveal it yet. I'll let you all have a vote. Give about 20 seconds. Oh, there we go. So, already, 3 thumbs down. Thank you very much. So it's a tight race between communication and Game of Thrones. Very good. That's good. 93, 94 responses. Is anyone still trying to get into the system? All right. You'll have another opportunity later on. But I'll leave the question open so you can get in and answer it. I'm going to let you look at systems of units. Well, you're going to need to know things like milli and kilo and mega and micro. I'm going to assume you've had some exposure to that, or that you'll be able to quickly refresh your memories. So what's a circuit? An electrical circuit? Well, it's an interconnection of electrical components through which charge flows. Nothing more than that. Some interconnection of different components, maybe a battery, a resistor, something else. Interconnection of electrical components, and charge is the thing that flows around the circuit in different ways. So that's what we mean by an electrical circuit. Motion of charge in a definite closed path. It can result in energy transfer between, for example, a battery and a lamp, and that can do useful things. But essentially, when we mention electrical circuits, it's flow of charge around closed paths. That's all that an electrical circuit is. So this flow of charge, 2 or 3 people already mentioned right off the bat, is called current. So a pipeline of charge, the time rate of change of charge is called the electric current. Usually I for current, and it's dq for charge. So the time rate of change, or the derivative of charge with respect to time, is called the current. You want to find out how much charge has it gone past a certain point, you can integrate the current. Question, yes? Well, otherwise I could say the charge that's passed at up to time 10 is the time that's passed, the charge that's passed up to time 0 plus the integral between 0 and time. But you've got to have some initial condition. So as soon as I had, so just to be clear, the question was, why is this minus infinity down here? Well, it could be, if you prefer it, say, the q at 0 plus the integral between 0 and t. That's all it means. But you some initial condition. You avoid the initial condition by starting at minus infinity. Just an abstraction. A different way to say it, but between the charge that's past the point between times 0 and t, or between times a and b, is the integral between a and b of the current. So if 1 coulomb per second goes past, zoop, 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 that corresponds to a current of 1 ampere, 1A. An ampere is the unit of current. So it's this flow of charge flowing past. The more charge that flows past in a particular time interval, the higher the current. I need 4 volunteers from the audience. Please come down. Yep, very good. Well done. 3 more. You might get a prize. What kind of prize? You're being very picky. You will get a free coffee voucher. I need 4 volunteers. Just come down. First 4 people down here. First 4 down. Yeah. Oh, gee. 1, 2, 3.
We all got free coffee.
All right. Okay, so can you stand over here for me in a line? 4 of you in a line. Each of these very handsome gentlemen is 1 coulomb of charge. 1 coulomb, you're another coulomb, you're a coulomb, you're a coulomb. I want you to make 1 amp, please. 1 amp. 2. Excellent, now stay there. Now I want 2 amps in this direction, please. That's pretty good. Now I want 2 amps in a different way. So there you went a bit faster than 1 amp. How else can you do it? No, don't you just want you going faster? Why don't 2 by 2? 2 of you come past. 2 of you come past, and then a second later, 2 of you come past. So that way they didn't have to go faster because there were more of them coming past at any one time. Finally, I want you to do 20 amps. Excellent, that's very good. Well done. Woo! 4 coffee vouchers. It's for a little cafe that I know in Paris. It's a very good cafe. Hopefully one day you'll get there. It expires next week. A coulomb. Does anyone know how many electrons make up minus 1 coulomb? So usually the things that are actually flowing around are electrons, and they actually have negative charge, and there are lots and lots and lots and lots of them in a coulomb. 6.2 by 10 to the 18. 6.24, sorry. Yeah, I think I've got negative there. 6.2 by 10 to the 18. Some very large number of electrons make up a coulomb, just to give you a sense of it. So current flow in metallic conductors results from electron motion. It's the electrons that move. Electrons, by convention, are said to have negative charge. But we take conventional current to be flow of positive charge. So 1 amp in this direction means positive charge going in that direction, which in reality means electrons flowing that way. Okay? But we say it as 1 amp is positive charge 1 coulomb per second in that direction, even though it's electrons flowing. A couple of things are important. You can't just say in there the current's 2 amps. The arrow is important. So both the magnitude and the direction specified by the arrow are important. The magnitude and the direction. So it's best to think, so you don't get mucked up, just think of current as the flow of positive charge. Right? Think of it as a flow of positive charge. Each of our students before, they were positive 1 coulomb of charge. So you can do things like this though. You could have 2 amps in this direction there, and you can have I2 says it's minus 3 amps in that direction. So you can have a plus or minus sign outside the magnitude as well as the arrow, and together it tells you what is going on. So which way, just to test this, which way is positive charge flowing in that top circuit? Is it flowing that way or that way? A or B? A, positive charge is flowing in that direction. What about this one down here? Is positive charge flowing that way or that way? Yeah, well, if negative charge is flowing, I've got to do it the right way for you. If negative charge is flowing that way, it means positive charge is flowing that way. Okay? Good. So, the ampere, who's it named after? Well, it's named after André Marie Ampere, who was a French physicist and mathematician, and is one of the founders of the science of classical electromagnetism. Now, common sense was not his strong point. Ampere loved cats. He had 2 cats. He had 1 big cat and he had 1 small cat. This is a true story. And he said, I want to let them be able to go in and out of the house. So he put 2 holes in the wall. A big one for the big cat and a small one for the small cat. True story. Common sense, genius, different things. All right, here's a Melts question. Let's see if we've got this concept covered. It's not up yet. I have to go. Whoa, there we go. 120, good. Excellent. No one thinks problem solving is important. Never mind. So I'm going to lock that. Back out. Where am I? Hey, go away, Red. And pose that question. There we go. If 2 amps, is it locked, unlocked? Oh, it's unlocked. All right, so we'll hide that. There's the question. If 2 coulombs of positive charge, positive I don't need there, if 2 coulombs of charge moves from B to A every second, then which of the following is true? Is the current 1 amp, minus 1 amp, 2 amps, or minus 2 amps? Is that what I is? Feel free to chat, discuss. Don't. Have a think. We done? I think that's long enough for that one. So let's have a look. Whoop. No, I don't want help, thank you. I do, but not that side. Whoop. So I'm going to lock that quickly, because otherwise, amazingly, the results tend to change. So 104 of 117 think minus 2 amps. A few think 2 amps, and someone thinks 1 amp. So let's have a look, which is perfectly fine. But if I have 2 amps moving from B to A, in this case from B to A, then that's positive 2 amps from B to A, so it must be negative 2 amps from A to B. That's where I's pointing, so the answer was minus 2 amps. So it looks like most of you are okay with this direction, current, polarity, and those sorts of things. Student demo, another coffee voucher, just one student. Please come down this time. Thank you. Thank you. You know about DC and AC current. DC is typically what batteries supply, wall plug packs, usually low power. We need all these converters to convert from AC to DC, because that's what our laptop and a lot of our other devices want. Okay, so if you come here, I'd like you first to demonstrate direct current. Just keep going. That's it. All right, now I want you to demonstrate alternating current. Turn around and run back. I was thinking, that's it, and then turn around and run back. That's it. There you go. The direction is constantly changing. Very well done, but I don't think it deserves a coffee voucher. So. No, of course it does. Thank you very much. Thank you. What? You got your coffee voucher. Very good. So direct current, 1 coulomb per second flowing past all the time. In alternating, well, it changes. It alternates, flowing this way, magnitude changing, and the direction changing. That's what's in your wall socket, transmission lines. It's often high power. Many of you will know about the War of the Currents. And this was the battle between Westinghouse and Edison to determine whether power should be transmitted to everyone's homes as DC, Edison, or as AC, Westinghouse. And so there's Westinghouse, there's Edison, and there is Tesla, who was also very key to it. He was an employee for Edison. Let's just say he was brilliant, and he finished up a mad pauper, and Edison was a billionaire. So it's best summarised, I think, by this rap. Oh, no. I can skip it. Now. you go. So it got very nasty. And you might know that Edison basically killed a lot of animals using alternating current to try to prove that it was dangerous, more dangerous than DC. So it killed all sorts of stray dogs and cats, and in fact helped to invent the electric chair using AC to try and really scare people into going with the DC option, but didn't work. So there are some typical current magnitudes, all the way from the currents jumping around in your brain at 10 to the minus 14 amps up to lightning bolts at 10 to the 6. And again, in electrical engineering, depending on what you do, you might have to deal with all of those different ranges. So what causes current to flow in a circuit? We need something to pump the current around the circuit. Yep. Potential differences, things like batteries would introduce that into a circuit. So we said before, potential differences. I have a couple of points separated by, let's say, as A, and there's point B, and let's suppose that one is 3 volts higher than that one. It means to move a unit charge from here to here, to move 1 coulomb of charge from there to there takes 3 joules of energy. It takes energy to do it. But once I've done it, I could let it go and charge will flow back to B. So if I let it go, charge will flow back to B. So if I can introduce potential differences in circuits, then I can get charge to flow. Electric fields are induced within the circuit, within the resistors and components with the circuit, and that will put a force on the electrons and cause them to move. So remember that the voltage between 2 points is the energy required to move a unit positive charge between them, as we've already mentioned. So 1 volt could be measured in units of joule per coulomb. 1 volt is 1 joule per coulomb. Joule per coulomb, because it takes a joule to move a coulomb across 1 volt. So what causes current to flow? Some sort of force is required on the charges. Electric fields do that. Voltage differences can set up electric fields in the circuit and cause charge to flow. One more. I've got one more coffee voucher. One more. Anyone else would like a coffee voucher? One other volunteer? No? Geez, they've run out. Was it the wrong coffee shop? You'll do it, won't you? You'll come up. Yeah, come on. It's not embarrassing. I do it all the time. What's your name? Hugh. All right, chant, ladies and gentlemen. Hugh. 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 He's done it. Right, this is not embarrassing at all. Not embarrassing at all. Firstly,
No idea about this.
it's all right because all I'm going to ask you to do is take your clothes off. No. All I want you to do is climb up on this table. No, you just jump up here. Just get up. Yeah, it's safe. It's safe. It's very safe. Now stand up. Hugh has just got himself some potential energy by climbing up there, much like an electron at the positive terminal, a positive charge at the positive terminal of a battery. He's now going to jump through. Now he's passing through the resistor. Go on, jump down. Way! There we go. He's lost his potential energy. He's at the bottom there. Well done. Brilliant. Everyone is illuminated now. Well done, Hugh. You're now famous. If you see him around campus, everyone say, "Hi, Hugh." Nice jump, mate, like your style. So a battery or a voltage source can create potential difference. Charges move from high voltage to points of low voltage. This battery pushes it round the circuit. There's often an analogy with fluid flow. You can think of the flow of charge like the flow of water. Current is equivalent to flow rate. How much water is passing by in a certain time is like how much charge. The equivalent of voltage is pressure. So these pressure differences cause the fluid to flow. So here is a bit of an example of, here we've got a pump which is playing the role of the battery in our electrical circuit over there. So DC voltage source, that's supplying energy to the circuit, the light bulb is absorbing it. Let's have a look. I think I can make it go to high voltage and high pressure. Things move a little bit more quickly. There's more current in the circuit now because I put more driving potential on there, or driving force, and things move more quickly. The light's brighter, or the turbine in this case is moving more quickly. So we need all right. So the volt was named after Alessandro Giuseppe Antonio Anastasio. That'd be that is soft. Girolamo Umberto Volta. Thank you. Thank you. And this is him, in fact, demonstrating the battery to Napoleon. If anybody in this room has a longer name, $10 is yours. Does anybody have a longer name than that? You won't believe it. The last 3 semesters, I have lost my money. You won't believe it. It was the same student every time. I think he failed on purpose just to come back and get my money every time. Still there when you finish counting the letters in your name. No made-up ones. So that's Volta. When we talk about a voltage, a difference between these 2 points of 2 volts, that's not good enough. Well, which one's 2 volts higher than the other one? So you clearly need a direction as well as a magnitude, just like you do for current, and we use plus and minus to denote that. So here, plus A, B is negative, which means A is 2 volts higher than B, which means if I put a positive charge at A, it's going to flow down through that grey blob. Positive charge will tend to flow down through that if just left to it, if that's just a resistor or something. But you can also have this trick where you say the voltage difference is minus 5 volts. Here, A is minus 5 volts higher than B. The reality of that is the same as this picture here. So they're equivalent, exactly equivalent. B is 5 volts higher than A, or A is minus 5 volts higher than B. Saying the same thing, just like you dealt with that with current. 2 amps that way is the same as minus 2 that way. This is the equivalent for voltage. So a quick question. If a positive charge moves from A to B, will it take energy or release energy? If it moves from A to B, what happens? The charge itself somehow loses energy, so that element must be absorbing it. That's typical of what you would get if that thing, the grey thing, was a light bulb and the energy was converted into heat. That's what happens in a filament or in most resistors. Electrons jump around all over the place but generally move in a certain direction, but all that bumping generates heat. okay, and the electrical energy is lost and converted to heat. Yep?
If the electrons convert all this energy into the circuit, how does the electricity move through the wires?
Yeah, so the thing is, a wire has no resistance to current flow. So we'll get to this later, but wires as if they're not there. So it's a funny idealised element that doesn't require any electric field for current to flow in it. So it's a good point, but it's an idealised thing that has no resistance to flow of electrons or flow of charge at all. So that's a really good question. So that's your voltage. I think you've done that well. There are some typical magnitudes. The antenna, how much voltage does the antenna on your mobile phone pick up? That may be of the order of microvolts. And it's a lot of work to get that back up to something meaningful. Lightning bolts, again, might be 10 to the 7, 10 to the 8 volts. Well, here's a little, let's see some high voltage in action. Bit of a Jacob's ladder. A situation where the voltage is so high that you can go across an air gap, and quite a big one. Yep.
Have you seen the video of the guy on the train in India?
Oh, well, where's this going?
He puts his hand
Oh.
up and touches the power line of the train.
No, but can you send it to me or post it on the Facebook site?
Send it to you, or you can Google it, or YouTube it.
What do I put? Man putting hand on.
He's walking on the train on the top of it.
Yeah.
And he thinks it's a good idea to reach out and touch the power line.
Yeah. What happens?
It's pretty brutal.
That sounds a bit scary. We've done voltage and we've done current, but I want to know, we talked about power being absorbed or supplied or different things. Well, how is it related to voltage and current? We can use the fundamental definitions just to work that out for ourselves. So let's suppose that's some element, could be a battery, could be a resistor, I don't know. There's a voltage VT across it. I'll allow it to vary with time potentially, and a current IT flowing through it. Current IT flowing through it, I've set it up here so that the current is flowing into the positive terminal. That's important. So I want to work out how much power is absorbed or supplied by this element. Well, let's see how much charge in a time delta t. So in time delta t, how much charge moves through that device, through this thing. In time delta t, the current is I, so it's IT times delta t, isn't it? So let's say delta Q, the charge that moves through, must be IT times delta t. Everything's small, I don't need to integrate, it's only over a small time period. The total charge is the current times the time. So if I move that charge, it drops by V volts, doesn't it? Because I'm moving this charge that way. So how much energy is being absorbed effectively by that element? Remember the way we defined voltage was the amount of energy it takes to move a unit charge between the two things. So the amount of energy it takes to move a charge delta Q through V volts is just delta Q times VT. It's the definition of voltage difference between two things. So how much energy does it take to move delta Q through? Well, delta Q times the voltage. So that is IT times VT times delta T. just by subbing, let's say, subbing this into there. So that's the energy. But what's power? The rate of doing work, delta W divided by delta T. So I lose the delta T there, and it's IT times VT. The power being absorbed by that box up there is I times V. I times V. So you get a nice simple relationship between power, voltage and current. P equals I times V. It all came just from thinking about moving charge across voltage differences and the fundamental definitions of what a voltage difference is and what current is. That is power absorbed by the element because the charge has lost its energy. The charge loses its energy as it moves through there. It's at a lower voltage difference at the bottom than it was at the top. A lower voltage at the bottom than the top. A lower potential. Critical to this was my definition of the current flowing into the positive terminal. So here's the result. If the current is flowing into the positive terminal, then the power absorbed by the element is the product of the current and the voltage. So have a look at these examples. Here we have exactly that setup. 2 amps flowing into this device with 3 volts across it. That box there, this thing here, is absorbing 6 watts. 2 times 3, 6. 6 watts being absorbed. Power absorbed, 6 watts. Over here, it's a bit of a different setup because I've got plus minus 3 volts again, but now the current's flowing out of that terminal. 2 amps flowing out. How do I deal with that? Well, what's that equivalent to flowing in? Negative 2. So the power absorbed is negative 2 times 3. The power absorbed is minus 6 watts, which is the same thing as saying the power supplied by that element is 6 watts. So that's like a battery. This side's like a resistor or a light bulb. Over here would be the setup that you would get if this thing was a battery. Out of its positive terminal, positive charge is being pushed. It's supplying energy to the rest of the circuit. So I'll jump up and do this melts question. How much power is being absorbed by this circuit element under those conditions? It's a good time just to catch your breath, have a think. I'll open the question up. Not locked. Well, you can answer it. There we go. Have a bit of a look. How much power is being absorbed by this circuit element? Work out how much current is flowing into the positive terminal. Multiply that by the voltage. That is the power absorbed. So we had to think. Whoa! There we go. I'll just lock that. So we have 109 out of 127 say minus 6. A few say 6. Nobody says 1.5 and nobody says minus, which is good. So it looks like everybody's multiplied 2 by 3 to get 6. But all we have to remember, or not all, what we need to keep in mind is that the current flowing in to the positive terminal, the current flowing in there is actually minus 3 amps. So I've multiplied minus 3 by 2. That is the power absorbed. It's minus 6. So that thing's actually supplying energy to the rest of the circuit, as a battery would. Most of you were on to that. We have already done that. That's what we did before. Instead of using differentials, we just used deltas. But that's the argument that we just went through ourselves a little while ago to end up with the power absorbed being V times I. If you wanted to get the total change in energy, you integrate the power. To get the power, you differentiate the energy. To get the change in energy, you integrate the power. And this is the sign convention for power that we've already mentioned. It's called the passive sign convention. This thing of thinking about if the current I is flowing into the positive terminal of a device with voltage V across it, V times I is the power absorbed. So our first theorem that might help us analyse voltages and currents in circuits is called Teligens's theorem, and it's essentially a conservation of energy. And it says the sum of the powers absorbed by all elements must be 0. The sum of the powers absorbed by all elements must be 0. In other words, if there's something absorbing 6 watts, there has to be something else in the circuit absorbing minus 6 watts or supplying it. It's just a conservation of energy, an energy balance. It means the power supplied in the network is exactly equal to the power absorbed. So you'll actually use that in an example tomorrow afternoon to solve for a missing voltage or current in the circuit. Are there any questions about Teligens's theorem? Hopefully that makes intuitive sense. Nice closed circuit. So the sum of the energy, sum of the powers absorbed must be equal to 0. If there are no further questions, thank you for your attention. John's giving the lecture tomorrow, and I'll see you again on Monday morning at 8 o'clock.